Today, we are going to learn the first lesson of Class 8th main course book, and it is a poem named The Schoolboy. The poem The Schoolboy was written by William Blake, and it is written from the perspective of a young boy who hates going to school in a disciplined way, and he rather desires to be like a free bird. For him, the school is just like a prison which does not allow the creativity of a person to flourish. So now let's learn the poem. I love to rise in a summer morn when the birds sing on every tree. The distant huntsman winds his horn and the skylarks sings with me. Oh, what a sweet company. In the first stanza, the schoolboy seems to be in a very happy and energetic mood, and here it shows that the all the things which are happening around the boy makes the schoolboy feel very happy. And like the birds, he also loves to rise in the morning and enjoys the activities which happens around him at that time. And he says that morning time is the time of hope and aspiration. Hence, human beings as well as animals, they wake up in the pursuit of their goals. So in this stanza, the schoolboy is very happy to wake up early in the morning, and he feels that he is enjoying each and everything which is happening around him. But to go to school in a summer morn, oh, it drives all joy away. Under a cruel eye outworn, the little ones spend the day in sighing and dismay. In the second stanza onwards, we can see that the tone of the schoolboy totally changes from delight, rejoicing, and hope, and it changes to dismay and joylessness. Dismay means distress. And the schoolboy says that going to the school in the summer morning is something which takes away all his joys. And he says that in the school, the students have to spend all their day under a teacher who is outdated fashion, and he always keeps an eye on the schoolboy so that they may follow the rules and regulations strictly. Thus, the young boy says that they have to spend all their day in the school in complete distress and sadness. So the second stanza, that is this stanza, describes the schoolboy's concern over the way the school works. And there, the children are kept under strict surveillance and are forced to obey the rules which may take their joys. Ah, then at times I drooping sit and spend many an anxious hour, nor in my book can I take delight, nor sit in learning's bower, worn through with a dreary shower. In this stanza, the schoolboy describes how he spends his day at the school. And according to him, he often sits and spends a lot of time in boredom. He does not find any joy or happiness in the books as well. And he says that in this stanza, the learning's bower means a place where someone comes and sits to learn. It can be either a school, university, or any other place where people generally collect together to acquire knowledge. And he says here, the poet, the schoolboy says that as per him, the school's education system is completely damaged and defective, because he says that the education is defective because it does not focus on the learning of the students. It just focuses on the strict discipline, and the children are forced to obey their strict rules and regulations. And so he says that the learning becomes very unpleasant and disrespectful because there is a dreary shower. Dreary shower means heavy rains which cause a lot of destruction. So in simple words, through this stanza, the poet says that through the perspective of the schoolboy, he describes that the education system has been damaged or it is completely defective. And he also states that the students are forced to learn those things which make them capable of acquiring only materialistic things. And for that, they have to give up all the things which would have otherwise made them a better human. Only the focus is on bookish knowledge. They are not being given any practical knowledge about how the things are to be faced in life. So he says that it is a complete boredom where the students have to spend many anxious hours looking into the books, and the books are also not able to give them any delight, which means they are not interested in bookish way of learning. How can the bird that is born for joy sit in a cage and sing? How can a child, when fears annoy, but droops his tender wing and forget his youthful spring? So, in this stanza, the schoolboy raises a number of rhetorical questions. First of all, he asks, how can a bird that is born for joy sit in a cage and sing? So, here he is comparing himself to a caged bird. And like a caged bird, he also loses the joy when he goes to school. Like in the same way, when a bird who is born to be free, he is put inside the cage, he cannot use his wings and fly, because the bird is born to be free, to enjoy its freedom, move anywhere it wants to. But then when it is put in the cage, it is not able to move his tender wings and fly away. In the same way, the children are also born to be free. They should be given many exploration opportunities. But when they are put in strict education system of the school, the children, they lose the joy being in the school, they lose the joy in learning, and then they do not take any interest in learning. So, in the same way, the child says that when the children are scared of the teachers and parents, and they forget that they are supposed to be joyful and enjoy their freedom, because their wings, just like the caged birds, the children, their wings are locked, and thus they say that their joy or their delightfulness is completely gone, and they are simply longing for the freedom, just like the bird which longs for its freedom when it is caged. So in this stanza, the poet is comparing himself with a bird in the cage. O father and mother, if buds are nipped and blossoms blown away, and if the tender plants are stripped of their joy in the springing day by sorrow and care's dismay. So, in this stanza, the schoolboy is in a conversation with his parents. He says that if, like a flower's birds, the child's freedom is snatched away during the growing years, then how does the flower feel when the small little buds are blown away? It seems like their joy is completely taken off, because they were just newly grown twigs which needs to bloom and blossom. But like that, in the same way, here in this stanza, he's comparing himself with a tiny bud, and he says that when a strong wind comes and nips away the small buds of flowers, and the growing stage of the flower is completely destroyed. In the same way, when a child is very small and he is at his learning age, and if during that time he is supposed to acquire all the joy of life being a child, but then all his joys are taken away from his during his growth years, and which leaves him in complete sorrow and dismay. Dismay means distress. So here in this stanza, he is making a very pathetic conversation with his parents, and he is saying in a very commanding tone that if a flower's bud is taken away, it's snipped off the plant, then the complete plants get destroyed. In the same way, when a child's growing years, they are not allowed to explore the joys of life, then certainly they will not be able to acquire any joy when if they are not able to do so in the growing age. So he is comparing himself with a flower plant which will lose its joy, and will be left only with sorrow and dismay, just like the same way when a child's joy is taken away by putting him in a strict education system, and this leaves him only with sorrow and distress. How shall the summer arise in joy, or the summer fruits appear? Or how shall we gather what griefs destroy, or bless the mellowing year when the blasts of winter appear? So this stanza continues from the previous one. And according to the poet, he says that how can be the summers be joyful when the buds of the flowers are cut and the flowers are thrown away and the twigs are removed away. So he asks his parents that how can the summer be joyful if all the flowers and their buds are completely destroyed. And he says that the fruit of the summer would never appear. Thus, how can the plant grow in prosperity because its fruits are completely now destroyed. And so he asks his parents that how can be a summer like a blessing if there is going to be a blast of winter, because you know that in winter season most of the trees they lose their leaves, the flowers are gone, the fruits are completely destroyed. So he says that how can a summer be joyful when the flowers are ripped off, when the fruits do not appear, when the winters are going to come, it's going to completely destroy it. And so you can see that the final stanza is actually metamorphical. It is a symbol, or it symbolizes the situation in which the schoolboy compares the children to the spring plants which have been destroyed. And according to him, like the flowers, the children also need freedom for efficient growth. So you can see that in this stanza, the schoolboy is asking his parents that when the winter is going to have a blast, the summer joyfulness is going to be destroyed, then how can the summer fruits bear? In the same way, if the children are not given the freedom in during their growth years, then how will they grow properly and efficiently? And so he demands and he says to his parents that children should also get enough freedom to grow efficiently. And if their freedom is snatched away and their joys are cut off because of schools, then they will never be able to get properly educated, and hence they won't be able to serve the society in a sincere way. And so, the gist of the story is that the poem is a criticism on the way the schools impart knowledge, and it says that the education system should not be rigid so that the joys of the children are taken away. The children are not able to take any delight in reading the books. Instead, the schooling should be made fun, the learning should be made in a very fun manner so that the students enjoy learning and they also take active participation in the learning procedure. So in this story, the main message what the poet William Blake wants to give to us is that the school system of education should be such that the children should enjoy going to school rather than sitting and spending all the day long in complete distress and anxiety. Instead, they should love the learning, they should love to go to school, and they should be happy to go to school. So, this was the message which was given to us, and today we have discussed the first poem or the first lesson of the 8th standard main course book English, and the name of the poem was The Schoolboy, and we have discussed the complete poem along with its summary.